him and I kind of run the vast majority of everything that we have going with Showcase Series tournaments, United Baseball teams, with one sole purpose in mind: is the player advancement. We're not a baseball academy. You know, we're a player advancement company, and you can't help the amateur athlete in the same way you can the professional athlete.
Right.
We have a pro side of our company, but the amateur side of our company doesn't work the same way. So we had to create Showcase Series. We had to create United Baseball. We had to recruit players in, just like we would if I was a college coach still. And then when we have the tournaments, outside teams come and play, but our teams play in them.
Right.
And it allows us the opportunity to kind of control the aspect end to end, where if we know we got some players, not only is our staff seeing the kid every weekend and our coaches seeing them every weekend and kind of helping on that development side, but you know, if there's guys that we know, certain coaches, if I know Doug Martin's going to like a certain guy, I'm going to make sure to put that guy in front of Doug Martin when we play.
Right. Put a charge into it. It's good. It's good.
The kid that's actually pitching out here, the Bramblett kid, he played on the 16U scout team we had this past summer.
Right.
And he did really well. He's got a good arm. You know, he's still young, so he's got some improvement with command and things like that. But he does a really good job.
Right. If you're wondering what you're listening to, I'm here with Nick Singleton, who is a regional scout director for Showcase Series. You were saying earlier how Showcase Series started with the former owner of the Pelicans and stuff. Do you want to? Oh, he hit that good too. This will be a little disjointed because I'm going to blurt out, "Oh, he hit that" every now and then. And he's active. Nick is actually actively working right now. He's taking notes and kind of been nice enough to give me some of his time, which I appreciate, Nick.
Yeah, not a problem. But yeah, James Gamble was the, he's the one that started the Pensacola Pelicans, and they started off at what used to be PJC, is now Pensacola State.
Right.
I think they had their first season at Pensacola Junior College or Pensacola State.
Right. I was at PSCO this morning.
And then they transitioned to UWF.
Right. They had the little decks you could purchase.
The party decks out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Good times.
That was my first experience there out of college. I signed with the Pelicans, and Bernie Carbo was the manager that year, and they put me in the day I showed up. They didn't know anything about me really. They put me in the last inning, and 3 batters into it, I gave up an opposite field home run into the party deck.
Uh-oh.
And I thought for sure I was going to get released at that point. And go figure, the next guy that gets up, it's all over the dish, and I tried to throw a fastball in that hit him. I looked down thinking, I'm for sure getting released now. And when I looked up, the guy was halfway to the mound, full sprint with his helmet in his hand. Welcome to pro ball. Ended up with a 3-game suspension and a $100 fine.
Ouch.
But it got me an opportunity to continue to play. I ended up, they suspended the starting pitcher from that game for the Pelicans, and so I had his next start in the rotation.
Nice.
They needed a spot start. I threw well in Fort Worth, Texas, and that was the beginning of an 8-year career in professional baseball.
Now, when you were talking to me, it sounded like you played in about 12 places in 8 years.
I bounced around quite a bit.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, that's kind of the minor league thing, right? You're going to get moved here and there. You're going to play in Mexico. You're going to do winter ball. You're going to have to go around and play.
Yeah, it's just part of advancement in any industry. But when you're talking about sports, the better you perform, the more teams are going to want you, and the more offers you're going to get. You don't bounce around a lot if you're doing bad. You bounce around once or twice, and then you're gone.
Right.
So if you're bouncing around a lot, that means that there's interest from other teams. Absolutely. Because you've done something to draw their interest.
Right. That's a nice block by the catcher right there. That's a nice play. Very nice play. End of the inning.
Yeah, some of these kids, it's the first time I'm seeing these guys.
All right, we're recording again. Okay. Now, what does your scouting bureau do?
So our scouting bureau is essentially a player advancement company. We have a professional side of the company. We have an amateur side. On the professional side, it's more geared towards helping. Let's just say you're a player in AA or AAA, and you're stuck. There's some guys ahead of you that you're not going to beat out. You're not going to get to the big leagues. We facilitate finding contracts internationally, whether it be Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and even the Dominican Republic and Mexico. And there's other leagues that are similar to like the ability level of independent league baseball here, which is still high end professional baseball. But you're talking about places that you don't think really have baseball, and then the World Baseball Classic comes around, you're like, oh, I didn't know this country was playing baseball.
Right.
But there's baseball that's being played, and guys are getting paid. It's not a lot of money, but it sometimes it gives guys opportunities to finish their career out having fun, playing a sport, making a little bit of money, or maybe it buys them a little bit more time to work out some kinks,
right,
and then get back into the United States to get a job.
Like Ben Lively.
That's right.
Who goes to Korea for a little bit, and for whatever reason finds what he needs, and now teams are looking for him. He's not looking for teams. All the way from that to where you can maybe get a little nest egg for when you start your next career. That's great.
Well, baseball or sports in general is kind of like how we refer to dog years. And your baseball lifespan is always going to be shorter than your actual lifespan. So it's going to end a little bit sooner than most people want it to.
Right. Now, what are you looking for when you come to a place like this? Anything you catch your eye, or just you guys help place kids in these scenarios too?
Yeah, typically what I do is I communicate with the high school coaches about their players, and
right.
High school coaches will always tell you the players they like, and they'll tell you about the players that are good, but
they need something else.
Yeah, they'll give you information that's needed, because at the end of the day, I'm going to take that information, I'm going to come out and see it for myself, make sure it all matches up, and that way I can speak intelligently to a college coach when I'm talking to the college coach about, hey, there's a player here, since we're here in the Panhandle, it would be Brian Llewellyn at Pensacola State, or Doug Martin in Northwest Florida State, Jeff Code or Kyle Brown over at UWF. When I communicate with those guys, I can't just call them and say, hey, I saw a guy, he was throwing 92, but I have no other information.
Right.
I need to know, okay, what's the player's name? What's his background? What's his character like? What's his academics like?
What's he like Monday through Friday, right?
Yeah, it's not like professional baseball. Just because you're good doesn't mean you can get a scholarship somewhere. You got to actually make the grades to be in college.
Right.
So, the academic side of it is a big deal that we, make clear to all of our players and parents in the organization that play with United Baseball. It gives us that opportunity to not only develop them on the baseball field, but to educate them on what a recruitable player really is.
Right.
And it's not just being good at baseball.
Right.
It's about being a good teammate, high character, and taking care of business in the classroom, not just on the field.
Right. And you'll see 8, 10 teams play this week?
Yeah.
Once they get the season going?
That's right. I'll start going around. I like to go watch practices, be on the field and see the kids, up close. I also like to go to scrimmage games like this. Once the season starts, then I'll really start bouncing around and following the players that are with the United Baseball organization. We'll look at their schedules, and if I happen to see other guys while I'm there, that's how I'm able to speak intelligently about a player. You see them in one game, if they have a good game, that's just a sample size.
Right.
I can tell you within the first 10 minutes of seeing a player if they're athletic, or if they have foot speed or good hands or good arm strength. That doesn't take much to see. Everybody can see that.
Right.
So you need to see somebody on a consistent basis.
Right.
And that's why we have the teams. You get to see them over time. You get to see the good and the bad. And that allows you to speak intelligently to anybody that you're trying to help with that advancement process.
Do you somewhat do a circle? Like you do a circle and then you turn around, like once you finish your region, you kind of go back around the region again?
Yes and no. I'm at the mercy of the weather, of course, and I'm at the mercy of the schedules. There's a lot. There's always going to be conflicting schedules with, I need to go see this high school and I need to go see this other one, and they're, 150 miles apart and they're playing on the same day. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So I got to, pick one or the other, and then I choose another date to go see the team, and then it's a rain out. And so it happens a lot. So there's really no. I've tried for years to come up with a best method, but the best method really is just the communication piece, and you try your best to plan it in advance on, okay, well, if I'm going to go to Tate, then I also need to go see Pace, and I need to go see Navarre, I need to go see Crestview, I need to go see Niceville, Gulf Breeze, all those. And so you contact the coaches, hey, what do you got going on this day, this day, this day, and you take what you can get.
Right.
And so it's a blessing to have the relationship with the coaches to let me come out and interact with them, get on the field, interact with players, and that's just something that comes over time with building those types of relationships. So it's a blessing to be able to get out there and do that kind of stuff. But I've been a coach at the college level before. I know how difficult it can become when weather gets in your way, or games are rescheduled or pushed back, or you got players that get hurt that was going to play this game and now they can't because, and there's so many variables and dynamics that are uncontrollable. So when I can get over there, I can get over there, and I do my best to plan in advance.
Right. That's good. You're looking stern.
I could have given you a smile. I was concentrating.
That's it. There's a standard picture you're supposed to take when you're a scout.
That's right. Act like I didn't know it was happening.
Right. What are these guys running it up there at?
Everybody's been right around the 79, 82 mark so far.
Okay. Ooh. Ooh. That's a nice cut right there.
So yeah.
That short's supposed to win several plays today. What were you saying?
So Braden Beck, he played for one of our United teams. We have basically like United Baseball. We treat it like professional baseball. Everything kind of filters down from our scouting bureau. And so the way we build teams, you have United Baseball. And so, for example, New York Yankees. United Baseball would be the New York Yankees of our organization. Well, a lot of people don't know that New York Yankees, they got Scranton Yankees, they got Tampa Yankees, they got their AA, a single A, high A, low A, and so they have different but they're all the Yankees.
Right.
And they're all, playing for the New York Yankees, but they're playing for that organization.
Right.
So we have United Baseball. We don't actually have like a United team.
Right.
We do, like if we call it a national team, but we're kind of old school. So we pull from all of our teams in each age group, whether it's Louisiana players, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. If they're in that age group and they're one of the best players we have at that position, we select them to be part of our national team. That just goes in place for a week at a national event. Then they come back. It's like building an all-star team.
Right. They get showcased.
That's right. Those guys, they need to go get in front of a national type event.
Right.
But then we bring them back, put them on their teams. That way we're getting them in front of their regionally located colleges that need to know about them.
Absolutely. And they're getting quality
competition
away, but they're also giving local recruiters the reason to come watch those ball games.
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
real nice middle infield play by them.
You know, there's pros and cons to all of it, like we talked about earlier. But you know, for national events, you know, what are you going to national events for? Most people will say, "Oh, because I want to get recruited." Well, that's probably the last place you want to go to get recruited, unless you are a 1% player, meaning no matter where you go, people won't like you. But if you're not part of that 1%, which means you're the part of the other 99%, which is the vast majority of all of us, you need to stop wasting your time going and chasing these national events. You need to spend more time making sure the schools in your area, the colleges in your area, know who the heck you are.
Right.
If you're in Atlanta or Texas or Tennessee or South Florida, and that's what you're bouncing around chasing these national events, if you're not one of those 1%, you pretty much wasted your money.
You went to a national event, but
there's
the people
Northwest Florida's not going to see you because they're here looking at guys and
the people that are looking for people like you, comparable to you, talent-wise, or where you're at in your career, aren't going to see you at a national event because that's
right.
That's Georgia, Florida State.
Yeah, and that's not
Florida,
what they're looking for.
Right.
The 99% is not what they're looking for.
And half them guys are getting drafted.
That's right. And that's what I tell everybody. If you're a potential draft pick, go out of high school, go play wherever you want to, and it's okay. Because wherever you go, people are going to like you. If you're not a potential draft pick out of high school, stay regional. Not local. I'm not talking about, but stay regional. Play in your region within about 200 miles from your hometown. Those are the schools that you're most likely going to end up anyways if you're going to go somewhere. So let's focus on that. Let's stack the deck, play the odds. Let's get in front of, if you're from Pensacola and Pensacola State doesn't know who you are, what have you been doing?
Right.
Oh, well, they don't know who I am because they don't come out to high school games.
That's when their season is.
That's correct. They have a season.
Right.
You think they got 17 coaches on staff and they just send out a recruiting? It doesn't happen that way.
Right.
So
that's the thing. The people recruiting at the local levels or at the junior college level or even the UWF level, they don't have that huge budget that the Yankees have or even some of the bigger colleges have. Mm-hmm. They don't have that $1 billion TV contract with ESPN filtering down to your college program. Or in Mississippi State's case, what is it? They got a whole condo section, barbecue section.
There's a lot of money in the bigger programs.
I played college sports, that's right. Now this guy on the hill here, what do you know about him?
This is the Ozuna kid you were asking me about that was at first base.
Right.
He's got a pretty good arm, so I pitched inside a lot because I didn't throw hard enough to live on the outer half of the plate.
Right.
So I needed to kind of own that inside corner, and sometimes the ball gets away from you.
Yeah. Well, and also when you're younger than me, but in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, a lot of you pitched inside.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, at the lower levels, do they do that as much now? Because it seems like there's less of that at the big league level.
Yeah, it's all kind of, it started at, what you're seeing at the big league level does trickle down. It's diluted the further levels you go down. But, I think we'll see no different than what the boot cut jeans that, what do they call the bell bottoms back in the day? That's every fashion always has its way of coming back around. The same thing with sports and what was going to happen. You're going to see a lot of changes, and then they're going to say, well, this didn't work out the way we thought it would. This isn't working. Oh, you know what is? The old school way.
Right. Oh, wow. Golden State won the championship with Steph Curry. So we're all going to play like that. Then they start realizing they're not all Steph Curry.
That's right.
Good-sized kid here at the plate.
Mm-hmm. I want to say he's a senior. Brett McCullough does a really good job with this group, and he did a good job with this group when he was at Pine Forest too. So when I run across really good high school coaches, I know what's going to happen. They're going to have a good program, especially if they have some, a place like Tate. Well, it's traditionally been a pretty solid school for a long time. And there's a lot of talented baseball players in the general area.
Right.
So when you put a guy like Brett McCullough over here, I think good things are going to happen. And last year was his first year as a head coach. I look at what they have and I talk to them and have conversations with them and their game plans and what they expect out of players. And I agree with the vast majority of everything that he has to say.
And have since he was at Pine Forest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And success is going to follow him around. And in return, that success is going to trickle into all his players. And as long as they're, on board with his style of coaching and his mentality and all that kind of stuff, they're going to learn from it, and they're going to in return become successful themselves and be able to take some of this stuff with them wherever they go.
To the next stage, yeah.
That's right.